Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We'll get started in 5 minutes. Thank you very much all for joining. Good morning again. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's nice to have you all. We'll be starting in a few minutes. I have put, there is there is a couple of mentioned in the chat. So there is two events on GeoAI and so on. One is today, here online, and the other one is in person in New York. So please don't get confused. We have a couple of presenters today. I will just show the concept note and the agenda for today, and then we can get moving. But please be mindful that there is another side event at GGIM that will be also on the climate and resilience, and then also on the geospatial landscape. So some of those themes are going to be also dealt with at the GGIM. So bear with us, and thank you for all for joining.
Sorry, I was testing. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. Perfect. I see that you can put your presentation up. So I'll just do a little introduction, and then we get started. Just 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll get started. Okay, let's get started then. Welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here today. It's the final online side event ahead of the 15th session of UNGGIM. It is so-called the end of the digital road, if we can call it that way, leading us to the 15th session. We will have also side events that will start in person in New York on the 4 and 5 of August, ahead of the 15th session. So we hope to host many of you there. It's a great topic to end the series of this digital road, this topic of artificial intelligence, which is the topic on everybody's lips these days. So it is good to see many of you today, and surely the committee of experts and beyond in the geospatial community, there is full engagement in this new technological development. So it will be a great thing to hear from many of you of the latest developments. There are multiple groups in the GGIM which are involved in this topic, including the groups on the future geospatial ecosystem, the land administration, and then also marine domain that are looking into this topic of artificial intelligence, as well as the thematic networks who have also been very active in looking into the AI, artificial intelligence, and its application for the geospatial sector. I want to mention also the working group on policy and legal, which is also dealing with the emerging technologies aspects, and they have been also quite proactive in advancing the topic on artificial intelligence. In this online seminar, it will be very interesting to hear from the different actors across regions and global international perspectives on the developments of AI as applied to a variety of thematic areas, and to see the potential it has for geospatial information. As noted by the working group policy and legal on the topic of artificial intelligence, it is key that the geospatial community contributes to establish legal and regulatory frameworks and show the impact for the geospatial sector as a critical part of this process. Then it's also critical that the community addresses the artificial intelligence topic holistically to make sure that the geospatial community does not stay within itself to discuss artificial intelligence and how it applies only to geospatial, but tries to embrace the opportunity to connect and contribute to a wider community and context that is affecting us all. The working group on policy and legal, which is led by Saudi Arabia in the context of artificial intelligence, has developed an important rallying statement. And I invite you all to have a look at this rallying statement, which is part of the background documents to the 15th session under the policy and legal. And they note the importance of ethics in AI, data governance, trust in data, transparency, accountability, and fairness of GeoAI applications, and also the importance of multi-stakeholder engagement and to align global AI principle and human rights safeguards. So this online seminar is a good introduction, and it's a good bridge also for us to connect, if I can call it that way, the online digital road to GGIM 15 session and the first side event, which will be held in person at the 15th session on the Evolving Geospatial Landscape side event, which is going to be on Monday, 4 of August. So there will be other interventions, presentation, and discussions on the topics of AI and beyond. I look forward to the discussion today and look forward to hosting you all soon in New York. Without further ado, I will pass on the microphone to next speaker, which is Dejan from FAO. He's the United Nations Geospatial Network new elected chair, and will be with us also in New York at the 15th session. So Dejan, it's you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for setting the stage. And a quick introduction on my end. My name is Dejan Jakovljevic, and I'm the CIO and Director of Digital FAO and Agroinformatics Division. But here I'm very honored to be with you as a chair of UN Geospatial Network. And in this function, with the GEO hat, I'm very much looking forward to not only to our session today, but the upcoming event we will have in New York. So let me share with you a few slides about, I hope you can see them. Okay. About GeoAI in the UN system. Thank you. About GeoAI in the UN system. And of course, as as we noted already, AI is a very hot topic, and I'm pleased also to see that it's not the geo area is also very much involved in the AI developments, and in many ways is driving the AI developments, which is really why I think is one of our strong roles with us together. So today, what I will do is I will show you a few examples of AI, GeoAI use across UN system. For all the participants, if in case you are not aware of where we sit, the UN Nations Geospatial Network, we are in the context of UNGGIM, and of course, within this ecosystem, we try to contribute and from coordinate and orchestrate across the UN system use of geo, but also influence generation of new standards and best applicability of geospatial technologies towards SDGs. We have, of course, common objectives. In the UNGGIM objectives, unless you're not aware, we report directly to ECOSOC as a formal intergovernmental body. And again, within this ecosystem, you can see we have a large number of UN organizations present. We also have a program of work. Program of work includes a committee of experts, of course, and we are focused on SDGs through the implementation of its main framework and UN Integrated Geospatial Information Framework. Coordination for member states and relevant international organization is already happening through this mechanism, and we look into development of frameworks, norms, principles, and guides. We also look at promotion of dialogue and global forums, and of course, coordination and coherence through expert consultations and meetings. So if we look at the program of work of the Committee of Experts, not to go through the whole slide, we are very consistent in supporting, again, the UNGGIM. Now, maybe to switching to action already and to what is actually going on across the UN system. We had a number of cases submitted that I would like to share with you around applications of GeoAI. And one of the first examples we can show is application in UNICEF. And this is where UNICEF is basically using the geospatial technologies and specifically GeoAI towards shaping data needed for interventions around children's vulnerability in particular, and across basically using the geospatial technologies to map out. We can see in this example how many children are exposed to coastal floods in Cambodia and the rest, and how to basically take advantage of AI to accelerate the development of tools for the impact. We also have other examples. We can see the SKY, so satellite imagery damage assessment for project partners and status. We will provide, of course, these slides so you can have a look yourself. And also the intention here is not to go into detail of each organization, but to maybe prompt some interest, to inform and prompt some interest that we hope will you will have some questions, or that we can maybe point you in the right direction to collaborate together, even enhancing the tools, or maybe we can use the tools to enhance your work. So in this particular example, we see from our colleagues from IOM, so it's a UN Office for Migration, on how GeoAI is using to leverage geolocation for displacement monitoring, and you can see in the maps how this makes quite a difference with the use of AI. We also have some good examples from our colleagues from UNOPS, so on innovative use of GIS, so on predictive risk mapping, damage detection, planning and prioritization, and climate health risk mapping. Another good example we have comes from UNHCR, and UNHCR is conducting tests on object detection and feature extraction. This is, of course, done using high-resolution satellite and drone imagery, and it helps tremendously to identify shelters in refugee settlements. And maybe something to mention as we go through these examples, it's obvious how much leverage we can have if we horizontally connect some of these data layers and then on top of that use AI for further enhancements. This particular example is from FAO, where AI is used assisting with the integration of field data for land cover and land use, likewise for identifying, testing the identification of acute malnutrition hotspots, and also delineation of field boundaries for local land characterization. Of course, from organizations, those are just particular examples. There are many more we can share. From UNECA, we have the harnessing geospatial AI for transport infrastructure and energy, water, and food nexus in Africa. So another good example. Then we have from Arab Development Geo Insights Portal, from ESCSWA, where we see a complete set of tools enhanced by AI to give insights. We can also see WHO example, where advanced AI is using for health through geospatial innovation. And there is a well-established GIS Center for Health, GISC. And here in particular, we see the ABLE project. So this is building footprint extraction, also shelter and IDP identification. Again, there are many more examples, but those are some of the highlights to give some sense of what is going on across the UN system. Also from WHO, we can see here in more detail from GISC of WHO, experimental detection of urban infrastructure manholes and blue lines, as well as use of generative AI for health intelligence and AI for trauma referral pathways. We don't have a lot of time in this particular session, so I will pardon me for going fast, maybe through some of these slides. But this is simply to signify some of the success stories in AI already. In a recent AI for Good event in Geneva, we could also see a number of excellent examples, and this is something we are very grateful for from our colleagues from ITU, who basically organized the AI for Good. And this is also one place where we could bring together a number of initiatives, not only to showcase the initiatives, but to coordinate together across the UN system the capabilities. And then one of the benefits we have from ITU is that we can bring together private sector, academia, UN organizations, intergovernmental governments to help us advance the area. We can also see a number of challenges that were organized, again, under the umbrella of AI for Good. And under this, we could see really a plethora of good ideas and innovative ideas, and in fact, a lot of developments in place that are scaled. And this is really encouraging to see scaled up solutions. Now, for 2025, there is a GeoAI challenge, and it's a global initiative on resilience to natural hazards through AI solutions. So we are very much looking forward to see how it develops. And we will also have, I would like to note that if there is an interest in participating into these GeoAI for Good activities, please engage with us. We would very much like to have you with us and collaborate together. Now, in interest of time, I feel a little bit guilty that we had such a short snapshot of what is going on across the UN system. There is, of course, much more going on. But I will use this opportunity to say again, thank you for the slot. And I hope we picked some interest and that we can go from here in expanding our collaboration together. And of course, if there are any questions, we'll be happy to facilitate or give you direct answer. So back to you, Yuni.
Thank you, Dejan. Thank you for the introduction and the overview of the UN system. We will have a follow-up with also this side event in person in New York with Andrea Manara from ITU presenting a little bit more in detail the AI for good and the opportunity to collaborate in that context. I would like now to pass on the floor to Celine Rosenblatt and from the Geospatial Societies. Celine, you're here.
Yes, I'm there. Thank you. So can I share my screen? Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to show what the geospatial societies can provide in GeoAI for the inside the framework of the UNGGIM. And so thank you for Dejan for the great first introduction. So I will recall where we are. So you showed the same figure. I added actually the General Assembly. I think it's important because in this General Assembly, the networks, we are observers, and so geospatial societies are together with the other ones, but will follow also the presentation. So who we are and how missions for geospatial societies in this context. Actually, we integrate a lot of academic network and a lot of private sector. It is a part. We are not. We try to coordinate, and we will see that we would need to coordinate more with the UN geospatial networks. But for now, we are really very integrated here. But we need to reinforce common action in GeoAI in particular. So in the general system of UNGGIM, there are, of course, national public authorities, the state members, and the regional committees. There are the agencies, industries, universities, and so the geospatial societies are there with, the Bureau Secretariat here. And our mission is to develop more the technology, of course, as academics, the training, education, and to promote all the structure and the different aspects of UNGGIM. So we are actually now 11 societies. So it is really a very big constellation of many things. Even inside the society, we do not have the same kind of governance and so on. But in a way, we collaborate together in different aspects. And 7 out of the, or even 8, excuse me, out of the 11 are part of the geo-unions of the International Science Council. I will show you that it is very interesting because, so this is academy, and CODATA is one of the agency of this geo-union and ISC, more specifically of ISC. And ISC has got also direct relation with different UN agencies, specifically in science in and for intergovernmental systems. So there is, in a way, the system we are trying to reinforce and to develop with and inside the UNGGIM. So in particular for GeoAI now, the different societies and these geo-unions, so the 8 uh, societies together, we develop a webinar on with a later series, including many GeoAI presentation. ISDA also has got later on Digital Earth. There is also joint webinar between ICA, International Cartographic Association, and IMEA, so the private companies of cartography, of mapping, so trust in mapping. The ISPRS, Student Consortium Developer Webinar, and the ISC Codata. So again, ISC, they developed a podcast on Open GeoAI, in particular about satellite images and open data, and so open access. ISC is very important for us. It's new, and I deployed a lot of energy to include them because they are really very important for all about data. For example, just was published this new report of the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, together with the ISC Codata, and they developed this in terms of stewardship and fair data to develop a guide, a comprehensive guide to standardize information. So there are a list of 282 hazards. So from wildfire, earthquake, cyber attacks, pandemics, and so on. And so they created a guide very useful for government, UN agency, researchers, disaster practitioners. And the question in the issue is to analyze risk, but also to plan, to report, and to be able, of course, to anticipate. So they in this report, they even developed a multi-hazard approach. So how there is a cascading effect across different systems when you have, the global risk and many multiple risk crossing, and they amplify one another. And there is a critical for early warning systems, emergency planning and disaster resilience. And the question is how the countries, and I think that here we work a lot for countries, how they can create national systems that really are compatible each other. And for that, the fair data is very important. Fair meaning findable, accessible, interoperable, and reproducible. So this guide here is really done for that. And ISC Codata is our main contributor and the main supporter to develop the fair, all the fair data in all science. And as you said, Guillaume, it's not only about geodata, it's about all the data. And this is very important also for the ethic data. So beside, I will mention different examples. It's not at all complete and but so ICA, the International Cartographic Association, has got a commission on GeoAI. It is chaired by an excellent specialist in US, Samantha Arundel, together with somebody in Switzerland. And they developed GeoAI method and knowledge in cartography and GIS. They develop GeoAI to extract knowledge from maps, they develop workshop series again, they promote publication and so on. So they have occurring conferences and workshops, and so you can have different access to this research. And the next one will be next month, 17th of August, in Vancouver, with a pre-conference workshop, developed by the Commission on intelligent maps for disaster preparedness and responses, integrating GeoAI, geospatial analytics, and user-centric cartography. So you see how far we need to collaborate with what Dejan just mentioned before for the GeoAI for good, because all that, of course, has got, in my point of view, we can discuss, but we need really to work together and to amplify this. So you can attend remotely to this conference. This is very important. And beside, last year, together with the academic network, we developed a curriculum for different courses of GeoAI, and just geospatial societies with IGU. We made a survey on all the education centers of GeoAI, and not only GIS, but really going much more. We had 160 respondents, and we made here now a map which permit to, it is interactive. I will try to go to see if I can, yes. So you can click on somewhere and you have you see the name of the establishment and where it is exactly. So it is done with Google Street Map. So it is totally free open data. And so here it was in Africa. And you, of course, when there is a website, it is indicated, and you have different filters to have different trading time, language. Of course, we have a lot of other information we did not put here, but it's important to have that, and we can update it very easily. So now, well, actually, some student of my university made this map, but the code is in GitHub, and so we can easily update the maps only with the new data. These are only examples, and of course, all our societies have different people engaged in the different working groups, in the different regional committees, and in the development or building of the different centers. And so we develop, so we are able to develop a lot of technology, innovation, data, training, of course, and also promotion. So this is what I wanted to say. We also insist on the ethics, stewardship, and fair promotion, but we just restructure how state use, how our status to be more efficient and to be able to work together and with the other network of the UNGGIM. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Celine. We'll now move on to next presenter. I believe that it's Zafar, but I do not see him.
Hi, Guillaume.
Hi, Zafar. How are you doing? Apologies. Good to have you.
Thank you. Can everyone see my presentation?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Is it in presentation mode or it's...
No, it's not in presentation mode. It's... No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Zafar Mohammed Gauss. I'm the chair of the UNGGIM Private Sector Network, one of the thematic networks that Professor Saline just articulated in her presentation. And we as thematic networks are looking at of how the role of private sector in strengthening the UNIGIF and including the geospatial components of it, especially from an AI perspective. I'm also the chair of the policy committee of the World Geospatial Industry Council, which is also a strong member of the private sector network. So coming to the UN, we have always promoted and worked very hard for the past few years on promoting this IGIF framework, which is a contribution of the member states. And now this has been streamlined, synthesized, and we will take a view of how private sector network can bring the GeoAI components, and where you see in this IGIF pathway is the partnership and also the capacity and innovation are the pathways that the private sector network could strengthen. As mentioned earlier, that we are an observer member and we contribute to the UNGGIM. We are called upon to strengthen this particular subject of GeoAI within the IGIF. The private sector network conducted a survey globally with all the regions, and we asked the private sector, what do you see the stronger role of geospatial governance, and how can private sector contribute, and also geospatial ecosystem, geospatial data, and GeoAI in particular, where you can see the contribution of the private sector. I think providing feedback to the government and coming up with innovation, better GI management, investment into those areas where the member states need some public-private partnership are the things that came across. And I think GeoAI is also bringing the transparency and demand based on demand, where we have a feeble infrastructure. By sharing infrastructure, how we can strengthen government's initiatives through the country level action plans of the IGIF is one of the things that emerged in this survey. Obviously, we know that the role of capacity development is there. Academic network, geospatial professional societies have a mandate of capacity building through their professional associations as well as the network. But also private sector for a long time have been developing solutions and also provide the sort of training to the upcoming professionals, not only young professionals, but also mid-career professionals. And these trainings are focused based on operations and implementations of GeoAI. So, and these are the responses that we got across, on what is the role of private sector that we could play on technology innovation hubs, etc. And this were the responses from private sector network, that these are the areas that we could strengthen the UNIGIF. Now, with respect to the pathways, we know that we have 9 pathways. And again, we have a GeoAI as a notion over here. And I thank my colleague, Michael Gaul, for preparing this slide, which he presented in the GeoAI for Good Summit. And you can see the areas around data, innovation, standards, and the 3 pathways, as I mentioned, that we can provide, but also in the financial pathway with public-private partnerships, where we require governments in order to bring an investment from a PPP model, and that's also possible through the GeoAI investment. We conducted a survey along with all the societies long back, and this is a paper which is in consideration, and this is about how GeoAI empowers UNGGM from academia, industry, industry and state members' perspective. And hopefully this paper will be out, and 120 participants participated in the survey. And I thank one of our private sector network members, Loken, one who took this initiative in order to conduct this survey and got the results. So this was the geographical representation of the survey, and 24 countries responded. So the findings of this particular survey was more around, do university graduates have required skills for the industry to employ? And we get a 69% response, no. And then when we asked easier to upskill geo degree holders or computer science, I think the respondent says there is a divide between the computer science 50% and 50% for geomatics. So what we infer from this is there's a lot of opportunity, and it's a combined effort of all the thematic networks in order to fill the skill gap working through. Again, when we look at the GeoAI, we look at the geospatial science, that is our domain, and then we have artificial intelligence coming from the computer science, and thereafter domain knowledge. Obviously, when we look at it, it's a combination of computational skills, but also how its ethics, safety, and governance is managed is a very critical thing that needs to be worked across while co-designing this geospatial ecosystems and GeoAI solutions. So these are certain models that has been worked across, especially on deep learning, on how we train the models, user trained and consume these model results. And on the right-hand side, you can see how the private sector companies are contributing to this evolution. I think the next phase is multimodal GeoAI foundational models for spatial, temporal, and retrieval of queries in natural language. And I'll just touch on the concept of the ecosystem which underpins the GeoAI. In the 11th session, with about 13 authors, and I was one of those authors that we came across during COVID time, and we said, what is beyond SDIs? And then we said, okay, here is a concept of ecosystem. And a geospatial ecosystem is where people from all over the world interact with each other directly or indirectly, utilizing dependable, accurate location-based data and advanced geoanalytics conveyed through dynamic geomedia or open computing environments. This is a foundation of the ecosystem where you could see the actors and everyone is able to participate, and it is an interconnected world where you can see the UNIGIF, the knowledge infrastructure, open analytics, but also you can see in the periphery the consumers of GeoAI, the energy sector, the finance sector, but also we are bringing in government, private sector, NGOs, Earth observation community, then connectivity, 6G, cybersecurity are part of this. And what we could explain is the work is that it's a subset of a digital ecosystem, and you can see the interactions over here with digital infrastructure and the digital ecosystem in the middle with the whole transformation. And this is one of the things that was discussed around the writing committee that Mr. Guillaume mentioned at the earlier. And you could see that the geospatial information ecosystem is a subset and is able to harness the intelligence provided by the wider ecosystem. If you look this from a UN IGIF lens, what you can see is the dark letters as the 9 pathways of the UN GGIM, IGIF, and then there are connectors around how these governance, policy, legal, finance standards that can enable the ecosystem and the GeoAI. As I mentioned, I also wear the policy hat of the World Geospatial Industry Council, and there are a number of reports that is available in the URL. Particularly, I like to draw the attention in 2021, there was a global survey conducted across the members and non-members of private sector community to see what is happening in the geospatial AI ML applications and policy space, and it's a good material. It's a free source for people to download, but there are other reports on privacy, around ethics, around the different models, and there's a dedicated report, and Africa, geospatial, public-private, and I'll encourage to read this report. It has got a good reflection of what people's view are, how AI ML could contribute for societal benefits. So, friends, in summary, what I would like to say is AI will impact the work of UNGGIM and UNIGIF, obviously a positive way. And then the concept of geospatial ecosystem, which underpins the UN, the GeoAI, will have an enduring impact on extending the SDIs as discussed before. It's also a widespread demand that traditional GeoAI from a capture and also the large language models are in demand. Industry upskilling is common and academia can obviously do more. There needs to be a greater collaboration between the private sector, government, UN entities, along with academia and obviously professional societies, so that we can get the communication, start to unify the efforts, and also get agreements on ethics and policy. And with this, I would like to end my talk and also acknowledge Michael Goud for giving some of the inputs on the presentation. And I like to conclude my talk saying, let's develop a positive and enduring impact on a sustainable world using geospatial information, leaving no one behind. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Back to you, Gil.
Thank you, Zafar, for the presentation. We will move on quickly to the next presenter. We have now Mr. I'm sorry. Problem with the show.
Abdullah, good morning.
Yes, here we go. Thank you.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead. Thank you for joining.
Good morning, everyone. Dear distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to join you today at the UNGGIM Americas webinar. I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude to the organizers for their kind invitation and for their continued efforts in fostering collaboration across the global geospatial community. My name is Abdullah Lasmari, and I serve as the Executive Director for Geospatial Intelligence at the General Authority for Survey and Geospatial Information, GeoSA. I have the privilege of representing both the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Arab states in this important forum. Today, I'm delegated to share with you the GeoAI journey in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Thank you once again for this opportunity. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has embraced artificial intelligence as one of the key enablers of Fusion 2030. As such, Saudi Arabia is making significant efforts to promote the adoption of artificial intelligence across various sectors, recognizing its massive potential to drive innovation and productivity. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we have detected authority, the Saudi Data and AI Authority, SDAIA, which is responsible for overseeing data and AI at the national level. On the other hand, the General Authority for Survey and Geospatial Information serves as the national mapping agency. A core component of GeoSA's mandate is its role as the national regulator of the geospatial sector. Now, I would like to share a brief overview of Saudi Arabia national efforts to build human capacity in artificial intelligence. As a part of the Fusion 2030 goals, Saudi Arabia has set an ambitious target to train 1 million citizens in AI. The national initiatives aims to provide Saudis with the skills needed to thrive in a data-driven and AI-powered economy. To achieve this, the government launched the SAMAI initiatives, which offers free certified training accessible to all Saudis. The program covers key topics such as AI fundamentals, data science, and machine learning. In addition to adult workforce training, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is also embedding AI into its education system. Through these combined efforts, national training programs, and early education reform, Saudi Arabia is laying the foundation for a future-ready workforce prepared to lead the global AI economy. On the other hand, to meet the growing demand, Saudi Arabia has launched several technology companies to accelerate the adoption of AI products and services. To support this effort, the Public Investment Fund, PIF, has established key AI-focused companies such as the Saudi Company for Artificial Intelligence and Human Company, aimed at developing cutting-edge AI capabilities. These include Arabic large language models, cloud infrastructure, and next-generation data centers. However, to succeed, these products and services depend on having a secure and flexible infrastructure. To address this, the Saudi Information Technology Company, SITE, plays an important role by providing cybersecurity and digital services, supporting both the government and private sector. Also, to support Saudi Arabia's strategic direction in adopting AI technologies, the kingdom has hosted several major international technologies conferences. One of the most significant events is the LEAP conference, which has quickly become one of the largest tech conferences in the world. Additionally, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia hosted the GAIN conference, Global AI Network, which brought together a large number of international visitors, participants, and stakeholders from across the AI and data sector. This conference actually highlighted the kingdom's commitment to becoming a global hub for artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, and innovation. Now let me drive and let me provide an overview of GeoAI and how it has been adopted through the Saudi Arabia National Geospatial Ecosystem. As Saudi Arabia advances towards Fusion 2030, GeoSA is playing a key role in enabling the geospatial ecosystem across sectors. To support this, the Saudi Arabia National Geospatial Ecosystem has been developed to introduce the next generation of spatial data infrastructure, SDIs, which go further by enabling scalable, adaptive, and collaborative environments. This ecosystem integrates people, technologies, and data to tackle real-world challenges such as climate change, infrastructure planning, and national security. The transition from SDIs to a full geospatial ecosystem represents a paradigm shift from data availability to data intelligence and actionable insight. This ecosystem promises to be more inclusive, intelligent, agile, and sustainable, fundamentally transforming how societies leverage geospatial information for innovation and informed decision-making. However, to transform these ideas into actionable outcomes, the Saudi Arabia National Geospatial Ecosystem has defined 6 high-level initiatives. These initiatives aim to deliver advanced services by integrating AI and automation. Notably, 2 of these initiatives are dedicated entirely to automation and advanced analytics, reflecting the kingdom's commitment to leverage AI for smarter geospatial solutions. Currently, GeoSA is developing 5 key pathways that together form an intelligent GeoAI system. First one is geoanalytics, focuses on analyzing geospatial data to generate insight that support decision-making in areas such as urban planning and disaster management. Second, geovisualization relies on advanced visualization tools that enable users to understand spatial relationships and patterns in an interactive way. Also, machine-to-machine communication enables devices to exchange information and tasks automatically without human intervention. Geoautomation also aims to accelerate and improve the efficiency of geospatial workflows by reducing manual efforts. Finally, semantics and ontologies. This involves preparing geospatial data in ways that support advanced AI methods, such as natural language processing. As a result of this strategic direction, we can confidently say that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has made a remarkable progress in adopting artificial intelligence on various indexes, such as the Global Artificial Intelligence Index, the Global AI Safety Index, and the Geospatial Knowledge Infrastructure Readiness Index, GeoAI. In recognition of the great efforts led by the General Authority for Survey and Geospatial Information, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia hosts the United Nations Global Geospatial Ecosystem Center of Excellence, headquartered in Riyadh. I have reached the end of my presentation. Thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Al-Asmari. It's a great presentation. So we will now move on to the next segment. We will skip across the Mapping Disaster Resilience GeoAI best practice. Mr. Hamid could not make it. So we will go directly to the UNGGM Americas Regional Committee and the Community of Practice on Geospatial Artificial Intelligence. If I can pass on the floor to Mr. Nouri Sabo and Mr. David Cole.
Thank you very much, Guillaume. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on from where you are joining us. So my name is Nouri Sabo. I am Deputy Director and Head of GeoAI Group at the Canada Centre for Mapping and Earth Observation. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. So together with my colleague, David Cole from Guyana, on behalf of UNGGM Americas, we are pleased to present the activities of the newly established Community of Practice on GeoAI created under the auspices of UNGGM Americas. So in terms of context, during the 10th session of UNGGM Americas held in October 2023 in Santiago, Chile, member states acknowledged the transformative potential of geospatial artificial intelligence in advancing geospatial data management, analysis, and decision-making across the region. In Resolution 10.3, titled Exploring Geospatial Artificial Intelligence Opportunities, the committee recommended the establishment of a community of practice dedicated to GeoAI. The resolution also encouraged Canada, in close collaboration with interested member states and stakeholders, to lead the development of this initiative. The Community of Practice was formally established in 2024 during the 11th session of UNGGM Americas held in Mexico City. Its primary objective is to accelerate the adoption and the sustainable integration of GeoAI technology across member states of the UNGGIAM Americas Regional Committee. Today, the community of practice includes over 40 active members from across the Americas, representing government agencies, academic institutions, thematic networks, and private sector organizations. As the initiative evolved, the community of practice will continue to report to member states, ensuring transparency, alignment, and responsiveness to regional priorities. So in terms of objectives, we have developed terms of reference that outline 6 key objectives for our community of practice on GeoAI. These objectives are designed to guide our collective effort and ensure alignment with broader strategic framework. Our first objective goal is to strengthen the technical capabilities of member states in implementing GeoAI solution. We know that there is a lot of expertise across the continent, and the idea is how we can gather different countries and to provide support that includes training, knowledge exchange, and access to relevant tools and methods. We aim to create a collaborative environment that encourages innovation across the region, leveraging diverse expertise and perspectives to advance GeoAI application. Also, the community of practice will serve as a hub of sharing best practice, tools, and case studies. This will help us learn from each other's success and challenges and accelerate adoption of GeoAI across the region. So, also, a key objective is to ensure that GeoAI initiatives are aligned with the United Nations Integrated Geospatial Information Framework, supporting its strategic pathway and contributing to its implementation. We recognize the importance of responsible GeoAI. The community of practice will advocate for policies and frameworks that promote an ethical, legal, and inclusive approach. Finally, we will work to ensure our activities are coordinated and coherent with the efforts of UNGGIAM regional committees, functional groups, thematic networks, and global geospatial centers. Together, these objectives form a strong foundation for collaboration, capacity building, and strategic alignment in the field of GeoAI. Now, I will turn it over to my colleague David Cole from Guyana, who will walk us through the planned activities of the community of practice. Over to you.
Thank you, Nori, and greetings all. Nori, if you can move to the next slide for me, please.
Yes.
So in addition to the objectives of the community of practice of GeoAI for the Americas, we have planned some activities, and we have done about six activities in our work program, which has been planned initially for 2 years. Nora, if you can go back to one slide earlier, please. Right, and these activities are aligned with the Integrated Geospatial Information Framework. For instance, these first 2 set of activities are really focused on the people tier of the IGF strategic framework, capacity building collaboration in particular. And we can see here, we have a set of activities around capacity building and knowledge sharing, which of course is a great gap for majority of the countries in the Americas. And we intend as a community of practice to organize training sessions, webinars, workshops, attend sessions like these, for instance, develop toolkits and guidelines for GeoAI implementation, as was Nori would have mentioned, as one of the objectives, and coordinate capacity building activities with key stakeholders, some of which we've heard about this morning, including the academic network, the private sector, Network of Americas. For me personally, I learned about the geospatial societies, so we know there's lots of opportunities for coordination, and the community of practice intends to leverage as much as we can and to collaborate with those other bodies. Collaboration and innovation as a set of activities via facilitating joint projects addressing regional challenges to the region, such as disaster management, climate resilience, and of course, promoting the development and dissemination of open source GeoAI solutions. All right, our next two objectives, objectives 3 and 4, these have to deal with more of the governance tier of the IGIF strategy framework. All right. And of course, we are, as a community of practice, we focus in on legal and ethical frameworks and best practices as we seek to implement GeoAI and looking to develop region-specific legal and ethical guidelines for GeoAI applications. Of course, we want to promote adherence to international data privacy and security standards as we explore and implement GeoAI across the region. Of course, the key to the all implementation of GeoAI is, of course, resource mobilization. So for our community of practice, we're looking at sharing grant opportunities, finding and sharing grant opportunities, helping to develop use case and proposals, and co-applying for such grants as we find. All right, so those are some other activities. And our fifth and final activity for our work program that we want to undertake in the next 2 years is more on the technological side of the IGIF approach. And that's, of course, just getting a better sense of understanding the prerequisites that we need mostly as developing countries and countries who are already on different pathways for GeoAI, just getting some prerequisites down so we better understand what is needed in terms of infrastructure, data, skills, and compiling an assessment toolkit to help us do that assessment. All right, and towards that end, I'll hand you over back to Nori on the assessment that's been done so far. Nori?
Yeah, thanks. Early this year in spring, the community of practice conducted a baseline survey across the Americas. The goal was to better understand the current landscape and identify the specific needs of the stakeholders in relation to GeoAI readiness. The survey engaged a diverse range of participants and focused on 4 key components of GeoAI capacity: technical knowledge and skills, access to tools and infrastructure, availability of input data, GeoAI deployment capacity. So in terms of fundings, from the survey, mainly we see that across the region, we have 3 main categories of development of GeoAI. The first group is some few countries that have already GeoAI in their pipeline of activities. The second group, they are looking for the capacity of GeoAI. They have some internal capacity, but for the moment, GeoAI is not in their processes. And the third group, which is the biggest group, we have different countries that looking, for the opportunity that can get, from GeoAI. So, in general, what we saw, from the survey, most participants, is self-identified as advanced in traditional GIS and geospatial technology, but as beginners when it becomes, to geospatial artificial intelligence. There is a strong demand for near-term support in the following areas: understanding the concepts and theories behind GeoAI analytics, gaining hands-on experience with GeoAI techniques, accessing open source tools and software for GeoAI, and securing computational resources, including cloud computing credits. These insights are directly informing the community of practice, work planning and priority setting, ensuring that our activities are inclusive and impactful. In terms of next step, so as per the community of practice objective of capacity building and knowledge sharing, the community of practice proposes to develop and share training materials for UNGGIM Americas. Informed via the spring survey, the community of practice has agreed to the first training module will introduce machine learning and deep learning concepts and theories. This first module is in development by Canada and will be offered as a training webinar in future. Topics to be included are introduction to AI and machine learning concepts in a geospatial context, GeoAI landscape, use cases and trends, familiarize with potential of AI, understand data requirements, technical prerequisites, key algorithms and architectures, common concepts in machine learning or operation. So there are here the main activities that we will engage in the coming weeks and months. So everything that I have from the community of practice in GeoAI. So what we can say in conclusion, so there is a lot of interest, across the region to scale up, to leverage AI. And there is an interest from the community to leverage each other. So we see how we can move forward in the coming months in terms of the community of practice and how we can support each other. Thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you very much, Nori and David, for sharing this development of the community of practice. Much appreciated. I hope that it will give also opportunities for other partners to connect with you and to work on those on all those activities that you mentioned. So thank you so much for sharing. And now we will turn on to the next agenda item, which is a panel session, which will be moderated by Valerie Grant. Valerie, if you can come up, and then also colleagues who are part of this panel. I will just put the name. Hi, Valerie. I will put the names up and give you the microphone.
Thank you, Guillaume. Good morning, everyone. So this morning, the roundtable will really look at the regional leadership and have this successes surface, share the challenges, and identify the pathways for greater collaboration. And so the members of this roundtable panel are Clinton Hyman, Leonardo Silva, Abdullah Alazar Me, as well as Tangdan Putra and James Norris. And so I invite the panelists to kick us off. I invite them in the order that they were introduced to really share some initial reactions to today's theme, which is advancing GeoAI to accelerate progress and global challenges. Just what aspects of GeoAI in your region or your role most excites you, and where do you see the greatest potential impact? So we will begin with Clinton.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm sitting in a community meeting in the Northern Cape of South Africa, and behind this wall, there's nearly 400 people sitting, asking questions about land matters in the country. Thank you very much. I think from my side, first I want to thank the organizers of the event, as we at the last event of the build-up. I also just want to say that from Africa, I think initial thoughts when I was invited to the GeoAI panel was that not much is happening. However, this is definitely not the case. I think when we look at Africa, there's so many opportunities in terms of land planning, disaster mapping, resource mapping. It's endless. And to my surprise, in the research that I did, and I did circulate a presentation that I prepared, again, one that I prepared and I shouldn't have presented, or didn't present. Some of the things that really stood out for me was when we start looking at the areas of working together as regions to more quickly and more rapidly do analysis of settlement patterns, in which we can better deploy the infrastructure. As I said, climate change matters. Digital twin become very relevant to us, and also I think something that I should just mention is the areas biodiversity. I think recently the wildlife. There's been a number of reports that have come out of Africa where we've been doing in wildlife. The areas that I think will need to be looked at closely is data governance, privacy, and ethics. Those areas will need to take concern, and then also the key partnerships in AI or GeoAI, public-private partnerships, support with the UN and its member states, and then also one of the key areas I think is for scaling. We need to look at government responsibility, funding innovation, and training and capacity building. Thank you.
Thanks, Clinton. We'll now invite Leonardo to give his initial reactions.
Thank you very much. Greetings to all who follow us. Thank you very much for the opportunity. In our region, we have some interesting initiatives, especially regarding land use classification and change detection. I believe this community of practice previously presented is an important starting point for further research, not only in our region, but globally as well. I understand that many countries in our region may have gaps in their reference mapping, and in my point of view, addressing social, environmental, and economic challenges begins with the availability of up-to-date and high-quality geospatial information. And so we certainly need to advance in GeoAI knowledge involving all regional communities, thematic networks, geospatial societies, and the UN Centers of Excellence. It's my point of view. Thank you very much, Rory.
Thanks, Leonardo. Abdullah, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding the challenge, actually, I will take the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as an example. Actually, in the Kingdom, several GeoAI initiatives have been launched to address various challenges. For example, some agencies have adopted initiatives that use satellite imagery, drones, and AI to monitor construction progress or detect illegal development and to protect natural ecosystem. There is also many projects in the Kingdom that use GeoAI to analyze multispectral satellite data for optimizing irrigation and detecting crop stress. In addition, also, there are some initiatives focusing on traffic prediction, land use planning, and infrastructure optimization, which really on satellite and mobility data. Moreover, the Kingdom also has implemented early warning system that combine weather data with satellite imagery to detect floods and sandstorm. And also the General Authority for Survey and Geospatial Information also has initiatives focused on the adoption of emerging technologies. It's currently developing a proof of concept, POC, for an open source system called MapGPT, which support the Arabic language as a part of its effort to advance GeoAI tools for diverse application. Actually, there are many initiatives in our region that leverage geospatial intelligence to serve the environment and the community while also gathering economic value. Thank you.
Thanks, Abdullah. We'll now hand over to Tandang.
Thank you, Valerie. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, it is a pleasure for me to join this session. And in terms of Asia Pacific, we also have some initiative related to the implementation of GeoAI. As we know that AI-powered technologies can improve the speed of delivering required insights in the context of decision making, where speed is very important. For example, in disaster response, it is necessary also to quickly assess the extent of damage over a wide area, which is a visually troublesome task for us. And I think with GeoAI, which combines deep learning and also geospatial big data, and also high performance computing, can efficiently provide an assessment of the situation and inform the formulation of responses in a timely manner. To name a few of several examples in our region, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA, has been developed an AI-powered system combining deep learning components to identify disaster-struck areas by detecting abnormal or disaster-related objects and also recognizing unaffected areas. Meanwhile, Malaysia just launched their satellite commercial high-resolution Earth observation satellite and demonstrate how AI-powered satellite intelligence can transforming agricultural industries. Likewise, in Indonesia, GeoAI research for natural resource management is also starting to develop. We also utilize automatic feature extraction to accelerate topographic maps production. Singapore Digital Twins also have initiative integrates the real-time GeoAI data for traffic optimization, for example, heat island mitigation, also emergency response. And also the Pacific Communities or SPC Digital Earth Pacific has been established as an initiative that can be revolution to how Pacific countries and territories understand and respond to their environment using cutting-edge artificial intelligence, Earth observation, and also large-scale computing resource. So to sum up, I think we in Asia Pacific also have many initiatives related to the geospatial AI. I think that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now hand over to James.
Thank you, Valerie, and thank you everyone for inviting me to join the call today. I'm here representing the views of UNGGM Europe, and in preparing for the webinar, I've reached out to many of our colleagues, both within the executive committee, but across our wider community, to try and draw on some of the experiences that are happening. And so I've got a couple of areas where I think I'd like to share opportunities and some of the challenges a bit later on. But from an initial point of view, UNGGM Europe has been looking at the topic of data integration, technology, new technologies for a few years. And for us, the emergence of AI is another technology that we are taking seriously, both as a community, but also as individual organizations. Over the course of 2021, 2022, and 2023, Eurogeographics and EuroSDR hosted a series of online workshops and webinars which brought together over 500 people to talk about how AI is and could be being used across our region. Some of the areas that they focused on around that included having representatives from national mapping agencies, statistical organizations, researchers, and the private network to come together. And some of the key things they talked about was how national mapping agencies on the whole see AI not as a threat, but as an opportunity. So actually, what is the opportunity that we can bring together and kind of in some ways cut through what some people see as the hype surrounding AI, and I can probably go into some of those conversations a bit later on. At a policy level, there are a couple of different policy drivers that we have across Europe, but more locally within UNGGM Europe and in collaboration with the Conference of European Statisticians, we held a joint day at our meeting last year where we brought together both the geo community and the stats community to talk about some of the areas where official statistics and authoritative geospatial data are making use of AI and large language models. And there's some really great examples which I can provide a link to people because the examples themselves speak better than I can, but from Armenia, who are looking at using buildings and identification of building footprints from aerial imagery, from Ireland, who are looking at different data science projects to help support and enable their official statistics, through to colleagues in Switzerland who have been looking at developing an agentic AI or a chatbot, which is starting to link through to the open data provided through Digital Switzerland. So there's a whole suite of activities across Europe, both at the policy level, but at the local level, where we're seeing people turn theory about AI into actionable projects. I'll stop there. Thank you, Valerie.
Thanks, James. Thanks to all. So there's clearly amazing work that is taking place across all the regions. My question, though, is, are you experiencing some barriers? What are those main barriers that you're facing in implementing these GeoAI-based solutions? I don't know who wants to go first.
I think I
James,
can.
looks like you will take it. Yes, please.
I was going to say, I think the trick with this one is not to go last because there are a lot of similar conversations. So I will spare my colleagues some bits that I think are useful. But one of the things we often talk about is how geospatial data as a whole is the foundation for decision making. And actually, when we start to look at AI and putting true AI into solutions, some of the challenges are no different from what we face in a normal day-to-day operating environment. We need to talk about trust in our data. We need to talk about provenance. We need to talk about security. We need to talk about standards. And so actually, for me, some of the conversations around how do you move that from a barrier to implementation to actually enable people to take it forward. And one of the areas I can highlight from my own personal perspective within Ordnance Survey is last year we developed a set of areas for responsible AI implementation. And actually that's something that we've published on our website, and it's part of our opportunity space to overcome some of the barriers. So we talk about having established principles and guidelines and governance around the use of responsible AI. We talk about being aware of the harms that AI can cause intentionally or unintentionally, and that leads through to some of the bias. We talked about having the whole pipeline. So actually the AI lifecycle is relevant across every aspect of our value chain. So as a mapping agency, we talk about positioning, sourcing, refining, and applying. So actually there are roles of AI across all elements of that. I think I'll stop there because I don't want to take every barrier away from my colleagues, but I think for us, there's some of the barriers that we see. Thank you.
Thanks. Clinton, I noticed you had your hand up. What are those barriers for you?
I thought I could go and I don't want to get in last. My barrier, I think, is really around, when you look at the use of AI, it's where do we source the data that we are going to be applying the AI to, or the machine learning, whichever. And I think in Africa, and speaking as the Africa region chair, I think our challenge is going to be not on running AI on the global international open systems, but it's going to be the challenge of securing good, solid in-house AI data that is indeed open, verifiable, accurate, and fair in totality. Because the thing here is that barrier is going to either have our decisions being based on national agendas, or they're going to have a more international flavor. And I think that barrier of not being able to build a good, solid, underpinned IGIF would be a barrier to us. Thank you.
Thanks, Clinton. Leonardo, what are those barriers we're seeing in the Americas?
Thank you, Vari. As we saw in the previous presentation, many countries in the Americas are still at a very early stage in this technology. This is certainly a common barrier, but generating an AI-based model that recognizes patterns of cartographic features in a diverse environment around the world is a major challenge for AI-supported mapping. GeoAI-based support solutions are highly dependent on an up-to-date mapping, so the availability of geospatial information is one of the first barriers to be overcome, in my opinion.
Thank you. Abdullah, is the Arab states having any barriers?
Hi, actually, I believe there are no real barriers. Rather, there are higher expectation of what GeoAI can solve. The UN GGIM Global Geospatial Network, along with the geospatial societies and other UN GGIM thematic networks, plays a key role in fostering global collaboration and innovation in the use of GeoAI. These networks actually provide a structured platform for knowledge exchange, capacity building, and development of shared standards and ethical frameworks. Through these channels, countries and organizations can share best practices, collaborate on research and development, and jointly address common challenges. I will take my country as example. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, through GEOSA, actively contributes to these global efforts in partnership with organizations like Open Geospatial Consortium, OGC, and within the UNGGIM, GEOSA Advancing Initiative focused on publishing high-quality geospatial data and metadata, which are foundational to effective GeoAI application. Actually, this collaboration efforts not only enhance data quality and accessibility, but also reduce risks such as model bias, which can mislead decision making. I think by aligning with the global community, our nation can shape more robust, inclusive, and innovative GeoAI future.
So finding opportunities where barriers probably would have existed. Tang Dan wondered, how is Asia Pacific addressing those barriers? What are those barriers?
Yeah, I think as we know that Asia Pacific consists of many different countries, and in my opinion, I think at least there are three categories related to the barriers we face in implementing GeoAI. The first one already mentioned by James related to how we provide the data, the availability, the quality of the data, because sometimes in government agencies we have inconsistent data formats or maybe also outdated data sets and etc. And we also have a challenge related to the some countries maybe need or face the challenge in accessing the high resolution satellite imagery or maybe even LiDAR or drone data. Many of them maybe do not have resource on that. And the second category, I think, is about the legal aspect and also about the policy. Maybe I think, as you mentioned earlier in previous speaker, that we had to develop also about the ethics or the privacy of the data. And I think in our region, we still not have much kind of initiative about that aspect. And the last one, of course, I think it is kind of a classic barriers we face every time I think about the skills gap or the human capital or the capacity building that we need to improve. And I think one of the advantage of this webinar, we can connect with other regions to, for example, to join the capacity building activities online, and we can share it to our member countries also to attend that such kind of activities or capacity building activities. I think that's all from me, Flurry. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last point you made about, events like these. So events like these, interregional events, are a good example of interregional cooperation. But beyond these kinds of events, how could interregional cooperation through, let's say, the networks enhance the development and responsible use of GeoAI to support addressing what we all want to address, which are those global challenges?
Yeah, I think beside the capacity building to improve the skill of the person or the human resources in our region, we also would like to kind of, for example, join best practices or kind of common framework that mentioned earlier by the presenter from Canada. And we also think that the partnership with the private sector is also important, because maybe some of countries don't have resource for funds or for developing the geospatial AI. I think that's kind of activities we could increase or embrace within our interregional.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Maybe James, how do we enhance this interregional cooperation?
One of the easiest answers to that is by talking to each other. Talking to each other can come in a variety of different ways. It can come from webinars like this, where we set the scene, we set the context, we hear some wonderful speakers from across the different sections within UNGGIM. I think it's also important to remember that collaboration and conversations can take part outside of the UN system and can take part outside of the formal intergovernmental, and actually organization to organization and peer-to-peer learning and conversations is really important. At Ordnance Survey earlier on this year, we hosted an event called the Cambridge Conference, which brought together heads of national mapping agencies to discuss some of the issues that are explicitly facing national mapping agencies when it comes to global challenges. And some of the themes we spoke about during that event were how we transform our own individual organizations to make the best use of data and technology as it's evolving. Some of those conversations were around, as a head of a national agency, what do I do? You know, how do I respond to what my technical colleagues are telling me? How do I respond to the technical challenges that everyone is telling me AI can solve the world's problems? But actually, how do we come together and start those conversations? And that peer-to-peer learning is really important. Everyone comes from a different starting point. Everyone has a different end point. And I think that's important to remember. And whether it's through government discussions, whether it's through a private sector network, whether it's through learning from the academic world, I think it's important for us to have those conversations at those different levels. And that when we go away from events like this, and for people who are fortunate enough to be in New York, when we go away from New York, actually, how do we take the work forward? And some of the amazing work that's been going on, you know, I was jotting down notes of the work that UNGGM Americas are doing in terms of your 6 areas of learning, and it's something I'll be sharing back with our community in Europe. So for me, yes, whilst it might be a simple answer to keep talking to each other, I think actually that talking at the different levels is really important.
Thanks. Leonardo, you wanted to weigh in on that point.
Thank you. I understand that a great path forward is to join forces to optimize solutions to many common challenges. Many countries have similar problems, so solutions can be addressed together. Develop a common agenda among all regional committees, thematic networks, and other bodies within our community. I think is the better way.
Absolutely. Thanks. I don't know if there are any other thoughts on that, but one of the things that I did notice is that all of you mentioned the whole matter of capacity building. Some of you have given some strategies towards that. So I wondered, would you share some of the what has proven to be effective in your region in terms of building technical capacity? And I'm not just talking within government, but I'm talking across the entire ecosystem. Any thoughts on that? I see James nodding, so I'll punt to him.
I didn't want to go first again. I would happily go second. It's okay. One of the things when I was getting prepared for this was to talk to my colleagues across Europe, and we were reflecting together that actually the collaboration piece is quite important. And at our UNGGM Europe plenary earlier on this year, we had a specific conversation focused around the data policies that are needed within Europe to enable that capacity development to happen. And we were talking about the different digital and data policies within Europe that help people on that journey towards understanding how, when, and why, you know, collaboration is important. So whether it's the European Union data strategy, data spaces, green data for all, they're all different policy and regulatory levers that can help people in the conversation. But one of the things we were also talking about, and it was a good friend of UNGGM Europe who was talking about the difference of governance within AI. And we were talking about the difference of governance of AI versus governance with AI. And the difference we were talking about was how governance of AI talks about acts and regulations and guidance and the legal framework, whereas governance with AI actually means putting agentic AI solutions, enabling chatbots, large language models, bringing that into the user element of systems so that we're not specifically talking about GeoAI in this context, but we're talking about geospatially empowered decision making. And actually, by using governance with AI, you get to faster decision making, you get to more accurate tracking of data, you get to detect issues more quickly. So for us, it's that common theme at the moment across Europe about getting the legislative and regulatory frameworks right to enable better innovation, to enable people to make use of the technology without having to worry about some of the barriers we've already just spoken about. Thank you.
Thanks, James. I don't know if anybody else has something to add, but I noticed in Abdullah's presentation, you spoke about the fact that you have probably one of the biggest conferences that is bringing persons together. How is that a trigger in making sure that that capacity is being built in the Arab states?
Thank you. Actually, as I mentioned in my previous presentation, capacity building is important. So we believe capacity building in GeoAI for the next generation workforce is important to ensure future innovation. And the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia offered a strong example of how national efforts can successfully adopt artificial intelligence through initiatives like Samai initiatives, which aim to train 1 million Saudis in AI. This initiatives has proven effective as reflected in the Kingdom impressive progress on global AI indices. Actually, we also observed the GeoAI for Gods initiatives led by Thematic Network has made a significant impact within the UN GGIM community. The UN GGIM Arab state can greatly benefit from these initiatives and should consider organizing events to further promote GeoAI for God in the region. I believe that by sharing such experience across regions, we can collectively build a more effective and sustainable GeoAI services.
Right. And I noticed that the audience is getting involved in the roundtable as well, because they are indicating that they are, in fact, it's a challenging topic, but at the level, even in the Americas, at Latin America, it would be interesting to see how we could build capacities to promote and strengthen AI methodologies. So lots to think about. But I feel as though we would be remiss if we wrapped up this roundtable without speaking about something that always seems to come up, the matter of ethics. And I know that James mentioned the whole matter of governance as well. So I wondered, how is your region approaching the ethical guidelines or governance frameworks to ensure, as we look at not just AI, but our little niche, GeoAI, is being used responsibly, particularly in respect to the things that we have to think about, privacy, bias, and data sovereignty? How is that being addressed? Any thoughts?
Valerie, can I come in on this?
Yes, please, Clinton.
I think one of the important things here is that, AI offers and many people will say, it offers the opportunity to bridge the digital divide, to get ahead, to jump, to leapfrog. They use these fancy words.
Clinton? I think Clinton is having some bandwidth issues at the moment.
Yeah, maybe
So
can I also
yes, please.
comment on this, Valerie?
Yeah.
Related to the ethic, I think we need to have the good legal framework or legal foundation. And interestingly, in our region, the South Korean government, they already have a kind of AI Basic Act, which is, I think it is interesting because in this act, they kind of regulate about the ethical standards and also about the public trust. So maybe this can be an example to other also member countries. But unfortunately, I had do some small research. The act is still in the language of Korean. So perhaps I can contact my colleagues in Korea to perhaps if they already have the English version, and it can be used as a reference to other member country. I think that's
Yes.
Valerie.
So the sharing again. Yeah. Any other reactions? James, please.
Thank you, Valerie. And I think one of the areas that I shared a bit earlier on was people actually publicizing their views on the responsible use of AI, which is why as an organization we came out with the 8 principles that we've been looking at about actually how, whilst we know AI is revolutionizing the way of working, there are areas like this we need to be considerate of. And those 8 principles that I talked about are a running theme through all of our conversations about the entire spectrum of AI, from the data collection through to its application and its use. A couple of other areas where I think it's interesting to share. In UNGGEM Europe last year, we published a paper or a vision document on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, which went to the Committee of Experts in New York. And the reason I mention that is because one of the areas we spoke about is that DE&I isn't just related to people. There is actually that principle in there that biases can occur in data collection processes. We know that there are ethical considerations of data collection. We know that machine learning algorithms can perpetuate, not all the time, but they can perpetuate biases. So one of the reasons we wanted to highlight that as a point of consideration for the Committee of Experts is so that as we start to become more reliant or more aware of GeoAI or the topic of AI, we actually can challenge the biases, and we can only challenge the biases by understanding them. And that, for me, I think is one of the important things. You have to understand it and recognize that a data set collected for one purpose might not be fit for purpose for another. But as you start to build and as you start to put things into a black box, actually, how do you then amplify or mitigate against some of those challenges? So again, talking about it, making it aware, and making sure that in all the government documents, like Tandang was just talking about, you have acts or legislations which do also talk about the ethical use of the data. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, gentlemen, this has been a fascinating discussion from different perspectives across our various regions. And so I wondered, what is the one key takeaway in 30 seconds or so that you'd like the audience to hold on to as we wrap up this conversation? I don't know who wants to start. Okay, I'll just pick somebody. I'm just going to go alphabetically. I'm going to give you the chance to go, Abdullah. What is the takeaway? What's that one thing that the audience wants to hold on to?
Hello. Actually, if you allow me, I want to add one thing regarding what our colleagues here mentioned. They talk about the ethical things and to data governance law. Actually, I believe that countries can integrate ethical guidelines for GeoAI into their border national AI legislation, also ensuring alignment with privacy law and digital rights. The another things that we can, it's like focus on by data governance laws, introduce legislation that specify how geospatial data can be collected, processed, shared, and stored with ethical safeguards.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Next, James.
You asked for one thing. I had 4, but I will give you one. I will give you 1.5. For me, I think we have a coordinated approach that we need to take. So actually, across the UNGGEM system, whether it's the work that Zafar spoke about earlier on the geospatial ecosystem, whether it's the work that our colleagues have been doing on the policy and legal working groups, we're starting to integrate AI within our conversations at UNGJM. So that's probably the one. So let's continue to do that. The second 0.5 bit, I think, will be actually, there's a lot of gaps in our knowledge. So actually, how can the likes of the private sector network, the academic network, the geospatial societies help us as member states to understand what the art of the possible is, and how can we actually have some insight from outside of our community, but within our community to say, hey, there's a great piece of paper here or research on existing bias in large language models. How do we share that information? So I think that's my 1.5. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Tangdang.
Yeah, I think also it is important to involve the young generation related to GeoAI, because I think this is more new compared to my knowledge. I think it is important to invite the young generation to utilize, to make a kind of story or use cases to take the benefit of the AI. And I think one of the ways to do that is, I think, a presentation from our colleague, the first one, with kind of conducting the geospatial AI challenge or innovation or kind of competition. I think that's key also for getting the geospatial AI sustained. I think that's all for me.
Thank you. Leonardo, seems like you get to give the final takeaway.
Thank you. So we have a long way to go on this topic of GeoAI, but I believe that advancing GeoAI concepts is a necessary path, and that our entire community will benefit from this agenda.
Thank you. So we've heard that we need to keep the conversation going. We need to make sure we identify those gaps, and we need to make sure that we are inclusive. And that means involving the youths in the conversation, because you know what? They are the digital natives, and we have some ways to go, but we need to continue step by step along the way as we delve deeper into the lessons learned across the various regions, and so that we can co-create that set of recommendations so that we can strengthen GeoAI partnerships across the different regions. Thank you so much for all your insights today. And so I will hand over to Guillaume.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Valerie, for moderating the session, and thank you so much for our distinguished panelists for providing all those insights. I think it is a good segue into the 15th session, as this conversation will be keeping going with the 15th session and the side event on the evolving geospatial landscape. That will be one of the start session for the side events, and certainly we will keep on working with all of you to coordinate and continue this conversation on the topic of GeoAI and AI and its regulation. So looking forward to host everyone in New York soon, and we will keep on the conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Have a good day.